Hi everyone, Annabelle here with AoP Tech, and in this episode, Technology Integration Coach Aaron Heinz continues his overview of Google Forms from our Connected Educators webinar series. We're going to join Aaron as he takes a look at Google Forms responses and how the data captured can be viewed and analyzed. Aaron will also share some of his go-to add-ons that can enhance your productivity with Google Forms.
And now I want to talk about the responses, and I did kind of show you a preview of the response tools. To do that, what I want to do is I'm actually going to jump over to a survey that we used. We had some district tech meetings the other day, and we collected at the end of the meeting. It was a standard, hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? Kind of feedback survey. And so here are our questions. You can see the first question: what county were you in? How valuable was the meeting? Here's that linear scale type of question we talked about. So when I'm in my my main display here, right next to where it says questions, I have the response tab. Now for this first question, he said, what county are you in? And so based on that question, Google automatically figured that a pie chart would be the best way to show that information. Now when I was over here and I was in the settings menu, and we're in the general settings, and down here, this little box, see summary chart and text responses. So this is after someone takes your survey, can they see the summary? And if I have checked this box, what they're going to see is this screen right here. And so a lot of times I'll use this as a discussion tool. Maybe it was, what is the limiting reagent of the reaction? And so I can say, well, a lot of you guys said water, but some of you guys said, NCl was the limiting reagent. And so now I could throw this up on the board and say, all right, let's talk about why 34% of you guys said this was the limiting reagent and only 19% said this was the limiting reagent. So you guys can use this as tools to kind of stimulate those class discussions in addition to your own kind of feedback. The second question I said was it was a linear scale. It was on 0 to 10. What did you think of the meeting? And for this question, they thought the bar graphs were an automatic good fit. And unfortunately, you don't have any control. I can't say, well, I'd really like to see this in a bar graph. Google kind of automatically does it. So this is something that you are kind of tied to, but it's a nice way. Now, on the responses tab, I have a couple options up here. So right now I'm looking at a summary. I'm looking at all my responses all together all at once. I also can click on the individual tab. And now this gives me access. So the first person was from Bucks and the second person was from Montgomery. And I can actually click through every person's survey or form and to see exactly what they said, which is sometimes really, really helpful to say, okay, like, if someone identified, hey, I had a problem, I can see exactly, how they did in the rest of the survey. Over here on the right-hand side, I have a tool that says accepting responses. And so we talked about using Google Forms as a self-grading quiz. And the concern or question I get is like, well, hey, that's great. I use it in my first period class, but I don't want to just have the survey sitting out there open, by the time 8th period shows up. Who knows? Maybe some kid went home and did it later or sat with a friend at lunch. So what I recommend is building one survey and then using the make a copy tool and say, okay, I'm going to make one quiz, and I'm going to use that quiz in periods 1, periods 5, and periods 8. So I'm going to build that quiz, and maybe, I know period 5 is a little slower, just coming out of lunch, and then they're still in a food coma. So maybe, I adjust those numbers for those kids, or maybe I have some IEPs in there, so I customize that. But then, so I push out the survey, I've copied the link, I put it in Google Classroom, I sent it to them. Period 1 came in, they took the survey or the quiz. Great job. Bell rings. I want to make sure that no one else is going to be taking this quiz. I want to make sure that when they walk out of the room, they can't go talk to their friend and fill in the rest of the responses. And so what I would do is that when that bell rings, I turn this little button right here, not accepting responses. And you can custom the auto message that Google said, this form is no longer accepting responses. It's kind of like when you used to call the number that wasn't working. And you could control that, be like, if you're still taking this, you need to see me. So you could customize this to target your specific students if you wanted to address them directly. But this is a great tool that at the end of the class period, you turn off the survey so that way you can control the time and the environment which that survey is taken. So a great tool right there. I do, of course, have an option to print the results down here. I also have an option to delete a response, and I really encourage, especially as you are building your surveys or your quizzes, that once you have built it, to take your own quiz or survey. And so a lot of times, you know, because I want to make sure that everything works and it goes from one question to another question in the right order. But I don't want that data to affect, you know, my class average, let's say. So after I've taken it, I might delete my response, so that way I know that you know, the data in this summary chart is just the students and not me clicking through making sure that everything is working. Probably the feature that I think makes Google Forms as powerful as it is, and I touched on this when I talked about this this homework grid, that I said I wanted a tool that would allow me to fill in a comma separated value sheet, an Excel Google Sheets form. So that tool, pardon me, is right here. It's this little tiny green, and this is actually, and it says, if you hover over, it says view responses in sheets. And when I click on this, what it's going to do is it's going to take all my survey data and it's going to give me everything in an Excel format. And you'll notice that over here, the first column is the timestamp column. And this for me is phenomenal. So that way I know, you know, when they did it. So if I know that, hey, first period lasts from 7:15 to 8:30, and I have someone in first period that shows up at 9:30, I can say, well, what happened? Why did that happen? So it gives me an automatic timestamp. When I use this for the homework, I know exactly each day. I noticed that in my homework, I didn't have a date. I didn't say, well, what day is today? Because I know that as soon as I input it, it's going to timestamp that information for me. If I had collected their email addresses, the second column here would be their email addresses. So I could say, oh yes, you know, Sarah Smith, and you know, normally my first question is, what's your first name? Oh, Sarah Smith, Sarah Smith. Cool, we're good on that. But now that I have my information in an Excel sheet, you know, now I have all the power of using Google Sheets. Whether that's sorting, averages, VLOOKUP, pivot tables, charts, graphs, galore, I have a lot more control and manipulation of that data. So whether that's you know, vocab quizzes or homework, I could run a report and say, hey, how many times has Screech missed his homework? Because you know, he's got a lot of zeros. And I can say, oh, he's missed it, you know, 13 times. So the fact that I have that control to say, I can look at all the data together, I can look at individual data, or if I want, I can open it up into a sheet, and now I have all the tools and abilities to sort, function, you know, that you have in spreadsheets. And I think this is really what makes the Google Forms so phenomenal. We talked a little bit about quizzes. Next thing I want to talk about, some of the once you have grown accustomed, you've done a couple forms, you've used them for maybe some exit tickets or some intro tickets, admit tickets. Now you're comfortable. Now you can start adding on some add-ons. So the first one that I like is called Flubaroo, and what Flubaroo will do is Flubaroo will grade those short answer questions for you. So if I type in what is the capital of Pennsylvania and they type in Pittsburgh, it'll say nope, that's wrong, Harrisburg is correct. To do that, what you're going to do is in your Google form, you've gone to the add-ons, and sorry, I went too fast. I clicked on the snowman. I went down here to add-ons, and from here we have a wide variety of add-ons, and basically anything with a green check means that I've already used it. But there's a whole bunch of really some very powerful ones on here. Flubaroo is one of those add-ons. Let's see where it is. Once you have added it, it lives, this icon will show up, and then it will live up here. And what it will do is it allows you to automatically grade basically those short answer questions for you. Spelling will count though, so that's something to keep in mind. Another add-on that I really like for my math teachers out there, GMath. This is another one that kind of Google heard that people were kind of doing a workaround with it, and they added it directly into Google Forms. Basically what it does is it provides a syntax so you can write these nice looking equations directly into your Google form. So that's a really nice one. Choice Eliminator. This is one, so as an ELA teacher, one of the things I did was I had daily, or for big papers, they had to come and meet with me. And so I created a Google form and I sent it out to them. I said, hey, I'm available for conference at 10, 10:15, 11, 11:30. And what Choice Eliminator does, and works really well if you want to do like parent-teacher conferences or student conferences, is once that first student, let's say they went in there and took that 10 o'clock slot, the second student who goes on and takes a survey, well, that 10 o'clock slot's not available anymore. Only, let's say, the 10, 15, 11:30 slots are remaining. So this is a great tool to use. The next one underneath here is called Form Recycler. And this is similar, so if anyone has ever used Google Slides, and I'm building a slide presentation and I want to go and I want to grab a slide from another presentation. Google Slides has that ability natively. Forms doesn't. So Form Recycler, what it does is, and I can actually, I'll show you kind of how it works. So I click on, where is it? GMath, Form Publisher. Actually, I don't think I've added that one. It basically will bring up the other forms that I have and will allow me to grab questions. So if I wanted to, I've started a library of forms, I could use that tool to grab questions from other forms. The last one, and this is one that you guys are actually going to get to experience tonight, is something called Form Publisher. Form Publisher is awesome. Basically what it does is after someone has completed a form, it takes the data and it basically takes, and on the back end what it's doing is really a mail merge. And so I can take the information from a Google form, such as name and email. Remember I said that email is a required question. So the reason it is because at the end of the day, I'm going to give you guys a link and ask for your feedback, because I believe in getting feedback and growing as an educator. And so I asked for your email address, because what's going to happen is after you take my feedback survey, and you tell me what you liked and what you didn't like, you're going to get a beautiful certificate of completion suitable for framing or display in a public place. And I'm using Form Publisher to do it. So you're going to type in your name, your email address, and what Form Publisher is going to do is going to take that. It's going to link with a template that I've made, and it's going to automatically email you out a filled out template. So for certification, or if there's tons of uses, but it's a really cool tool that I like. Again, these are kind of advanced. Once you get comfortable, Form Publisher is a great tool. My pleasure, and thank you guys for attending. It was a great time to do my first webinar with AoP Tech, so thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Be sure to check out the AoP Tech YouTube channel and the Google Forms playlist for additional video tutorials on other features that you can use to enhance your Google Forms for you and your students. Be sure to check out the latest e-learning resources support page on the AoP Tech website, where you'll be able to find, again, links to different resources to help you with your virtual learning planning and instruction. As always, follow us for the latest updates and events of our department on all social media platforms at AoP Tech, as well as the hashtag AoP Tech. On behalf of the entire AoP Tech team, I'm Annabelle Dotzman. Thanks for watching.